Jami atTirmidhi Chapters on Knowledge. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ibn Abbas. That the Messenger of Allah said, "For whomever Allah wants good, He gives him understanding in the religion." Jami atTirmidhi 2645 Reference 41 Hadith 1. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever takes a path upon which to obtain knowledge, Allah makes the path to paradise easy for him." Jami atTirmidhi 2646 Reference 41 Hadith 2. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Anas bin Malik. That the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever goes out seeking knowledge, then he is in Allah's cause until he returns." Jami atTirmidhi 2647 Reference 41 Hadith 3. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdullah bin Sakbara. Narrated that the Prophet said, "Whoever seeks knowledge, he is atoning for what has passed, of sins while doing so." Jami atTirmidhi 2648 Reference 41 Hadith 4. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever is asked about some knowledge that he knows, then he conceals it, he will be bridled with bridle of fire." Jami atTirmidhi 2649 Reference 41 Hadith 5. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Harun al-Abdi. We went to Abu Sa'id and he said, "Welcome with the exhortation of the Messenger of Allah." Indeed, the Prophet said, "Surely, the people are followers of you, and men will certainly come to you from the regions of the earth to gain understanding in the religion. So when they come to you, exhort them with good." Jami atTirmidhi 2650 Reference 41 Hadith 6. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Harun al-Abdi. From Abu Sa'id al-Khudri that the Prophet said, "Men will come to you from the direction of the east to learn. So when they come to you, then exhort them to good." He said, "When Abu Sa'id saw us, he would say, 'Welcome with the exhortation of the Messenger of Allah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and his family.'" Jami atTirmidhi 2651 Reference 41 Hadith 7. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As. That the Messenger of Allah said, "Indeed, Allah does not take away knowledge by removing it from the people, but He takes away knowledge by taking the scholars, until there remains no scholar and the people begin to ask the ignorant leaders, so they give their verdict without knowledge. They will go astray and lead the people astray." Jami atTirmidhi 2652 Reference 41 Hadith 8. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Jubair bin Nufair. From Abu ad-Darda who said, "We were with the Prophet when he raised his sight to the sky, then he said, 'This is the time when knowledge is to be taken from the people, until what remains of it shall not amount to anything.' So Ziyad bin Labid al-Ansari said, 'How will it be taken from us while we recite the Quran? By Allah we recite it, and our women and children recite it.' He said, 'May you be bereaved of your mother, O Ziyad. I used to consider you among the fuqaha of the people of Al-Madinah. The Torah and Injil are with the Jews and Christians, but what do they avail of them?' Jubair said, 'So I met Ubadah bin as-Samit and said to him, "Have you not heard what your brother Abu ad-Darda said?" Then I informed him of what Abu ad-Darda said. He said, "Abu ad-Darda spoke the truth. If you wish, we shall narrate it to you about the first knowledge to be removed from the people. It is Khushu. Soon you will enter the congregational masjid, but not see any man in it." With Jami atTirmidhi 2653 Reference 41 Hadith 9. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge Kushu. Jami atTirmidhi 2653 Reference 41 Hadith 9. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ibn Kab bin Malik, from his father that he heard the Messenger of Allah saying, "Whoever seeks knowledge to contend with the scholars, or to use it to argue with the fools, and to have people's faces turned towards him, then he shall be admitted to the fire." Jami atTirmidhi 2654 Reference 41 Hadith 10. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ibn Umar, that the Prophet said, "Whoever learns knowledge for other than the sake of Allah, or intends by it other than Allah, then let him take his seat in the fire." Jami atTirmidhi 2655 Reference 41 Hadith 11. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdur-Rahman bin Aban bin Uthman, from his father who said, "Zayd bin Thabit left to go to Marwan during the middle of the day. We said, he did not send for him during this hour except to ask him about something. So we got up to ask him, and he said, yes, he asked us about something we heard from the Messenger of Allah. I heard the Messenger of Allah saying, may Allah gladden a man who hears a hadith from us, so he memorizes it until he conveys it to someone else. Perhaps he carries fiqh to one who is more understanding than him, and perhaps the one who carries the fiqh is not a faqih." Jami atTirmidhi 2656 Reference 41 Hadith 12. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Simak bin Hard. I heard Abdur-Rahman bin Abdullah bin Masud narrating from his father who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah saying, may Allah gladden a man who hears something from us, so he conveys it as he heard it. Perhaps the one it is conveyed to is more understanding than the one who heard it. Jami atTirmidhi 2657 Reference 41 Hadith 13. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdul Malik bin Umair, from Abdur-Rahman bin Abdullah bin Masud that he narrated from his father, from the Prophet who said, may Allah beautify a man who hears a saying of mine, so he understands it, remembers it, and conveys it. Perhaps he carries the fiqh to one who has more understanding than him. There are three with which the heart of a Muslim shall not be deceived. Sincerity in deeds for Allah, giving nasiha to the Imam of Muslims, and sticking to the Jama'ah. For indeed the call is protected from behind them. Jami atTirmidhi 2658 Reference 41 Hadith 14. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdullah bin Masud, that the Messenger of Allah said, whoever lies upon me, then let him take his seat in the fire. Jami atTirmidhi 2659 Reference 41 Hadith 15. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ali bin Abi Talib, that the Messenger of Allah said, do not lie upon me, for indeed whoever lies upon me, he will be admitted into the fire. Jami atTirmidhi 2660 Reference 41 Hadith 16. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Anas bin Malik, that the Messenger of Allah said, whoever lies upon me, I think he said, purposely, then let him take his seat in the fire. Jami atTirmidhi 2661 Reference 41 Hadith 17. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Al-Mughira bin Shuba, that the Prophet said, whoever narrates a hadith from me which he knows is a lie, then he is one of the liars. Jami atTirmidhi 2662 Reference 41 Hadith 18. Jami atTirmidhi, Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ubaidullah bin Abu Rafi, from Abu Rafi and others, from the Prophet who said, Let me not find one of you reclining on his couch when a command I ordered, or a prohibition from me comes to him, and he says, I do not know. What we find in the book of Allah, we follow it. Jami atTirmidhi 2663 Reference 41 Hadith 19. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Al-Miqdam bin Madakarib. That the Messenger of Allah said, Lo! Soon a hadith from me will be conveyed to a man, while he is reclining on his couch, and he says, Between us and you is Allah's book. So whatever we find in it that is lawful, we consider lawful, and whatever we find in it that is unlawful, we consider it unlawful. Indeed, whatever the Messenger of Allah made unlawful, it is the same as what Allah made unlawful. Jami atTirmidhi 2664 Reference 41 Hadith 20. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. We sought permission from the Messenger of Allah for writing, but he did not permit us. Jami atTirmidhi 2665 Reference 41 Hadith 21. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. There was a man among the Ansar who would sit with the Messenger of Allah, and he would listen to the ahadith of the Prophet, and he was amazed with them, but he could not remember them. So he complained about that to the Messenger of Allah. He said, O Messenger of Allah! I listen to your ahadith and I am amazed, but I cannot remember them. So the Messenger of Allah said, Help yourself with your right hand, and he motioned with his hand as if writing. Jami atTirmidhi 2666 Reference 41 Hadith 22. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah gave an address. So he mentioned a story in the hadith, and Abu Shah said, Have it written for me, O Messenger of Allah. So the Messenger of Allah said, Write it for Abu Shah. Jami atTirmidhi 2667 Reference 41 Hadith 23. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Hammam bin Munabi. That the heard Abu Hurairah say, None of the companions of the Messenger of Allah narrated more ahadith from him than me, except Abdullah bin Amr. For he used to write them down and I did not write. Jami atTirmidhi 2668 Reference 41 Hadith 24. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdullah bin Amr. That the Messenger of Allah said, Convey from me, even if it be an ayah, and narrate from the children of Israel, and there is no harm, and whoever lies upon me purposely, then let him take his seat in the fire. Jami atTirmidhi 2669 Reference 41 Hadith 25. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Anas bin Malik. A man came to the Prophet to get a mount, but he did not have anything to mount him on with him. So he was led to another person to give him a mount. He came to the Prophet to inform him about that, and he said, Whoever leads to good, he is like the one who does it. Jami atTirmidhi 2670 Reference 41 Hadith 26. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Masud al-Badri. That a man came to the Prophet looking for a mount, he said, Mine has been ruined. So the Messenger of Allah said, Go to so and so. So he went to him and he gave him a mount. The Messenger of Allah said, Whoever leads to good, then for him is the same reward as the one who does it, or who acts upon it. Jami atTirmidhi 2671 Reference 41 Hadith 27. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. That the Prophet said, Intercede, and you will be rewarded, and Allah will fulfill what He wills upon the tongue of His Prophet. Jami atTirmidhi 2672 Reference 41 Hadith 28. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abdullah bin Mas'ud. That the Messenger of Allah said, "No soul is wrongfully taken except that some of the burden of its blood is upon the son of Adam, because he was the first to institute murder." Jami atTirmidhi 2673 Reference 41 Hadith 29. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever calls to guidance, then he receives the reward similar to the reward of whoever follows him, without that diminishing anything from their rewards. And whoever calls to misguidance, then he receives of sins similar to the sins of those who followed him, without that diminishing anything from their sins." Jami atTirmidhi 2674 Reference 41 Hadith 30. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ibn Jarir bin Abdullah. From his father that the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever starts a good tradition which is followed, then for him is a reward, and the likes of their rewards of whoever follows him, there being nothing diminished from their rewards. And whoever starts a bad tradition which is followed, then for him is the sin, and the likes of the sins of whoever follows him, there being nothing diminished from their sins." Jami atTirmidhi 2675 Reference 41 Hadith 31. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Al-Irbad bin Saraya. One day after the morning salat, the Messenger of Allah exhorted us to the extent that the eyes wept and the hearts shuddered with fear. A man said, "Indeed, this is a farewell exhortation. So what do you order us, O Messenger of Allah?" He said, "I order you to have taqwa of Allah, and to listen and obey, even in the case of an Ethiopian slave. Indeed, whomever among you lives, he will see much difference. Beware of the newly invented matters, for indeed they are astray. Whoever among you sees that, then he must stick to my sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided Khulafa, cling to it with the molars." Jami atTirmidhi 2676 Reference 41 Hadith 32. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Kathir bin Abdullah, and he is Ibn Amr bin Awf al-Musani. Narrated from his father, from his grandfather, that the Prophet said to Bilal bin al-Harith, "No." He said, "I am ready to know, O Messenger of Allah." He said, "That indeed whoever revives a sunnah from my sunnah which has died after me, then for him is a reward similar to whoever acts upon it without diminishing anything from their rewards. And whoever introduces an erroneous innovation which Allah is not pleased with, nor his messenger, then he shall receive sins similar to whoever acts upon it, without that diminishing anything from the sins of the people." Jami atTirmidhi 2677 Reference 41 Hadith 33. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Anas bin Malik. The Messenger of Allah said to me, "O my son, if you are capable of waking up in the morning and ending the evening, while there is nothing of deception in your heart for anything, then do so." Then he said to me, "O my son, that is from my sunnah. Whoever revives my sunnah, then he has loved me. And whoever loved me, he shall be with me in paradise." Jami atTirmidhi 2678 Reference 41 Hadith 34. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah said, "Leave me with what I left you. When I narrated a hadith to you, then take it from me. The people before you were only destroyed by their excessive questioning and disagreeing with their prophets." Jami atTirmidhi 2679 Reference 41 Hadith 35. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Salih reported a narration from Abu Hurairah. "It shall soon be that people are beating the livers of camels," meaning that they are hastening and traveling upon them, seeking knowledge. But they will not find anyone more knowledgeable than a scholar of al-Madinah. Jami atTirmidhi 2680 reference 41 Hadith 36. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ibn Abbas. That the Messenger of Allah said, "The faqih is harder on shaitan than 1,000 worshippers." Jami atTirmidhi 2681 reference 41 Hadith 37. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Qais bin Kathir. A man from al-Madinah came to Abu ad-Darda when he was in Damascus. So he said, "What brings you, O my nephew?" He replied, "A hadith reached me which you have narrated from the Messenger of Allah." He said, "You did not come for some need?" He said, "Number." He said, "Did you come for trade?" He said, "No, I did not come except seeking this hadith." So he said, "Indeed, I heard the Messenger of Allah saying, whoever takes a path upon which he seeks knowledge, then Allah makes a path to paradise easy for him. And indeed the angels lower their wings in approval to the one seeking knowledge. Indeed forgiveness is sought for the knowledgeable one by whomever is in the heavens and whomever is in the earth, even the fish in the waters. And superiority of the scholar over the worshipper is like the superiority of the moon over the rest of the celestial bodies. Indeed the scholars are the heirs of the prophets, and the prophets do not leave behind dinar or dirham. The only legacy of Jami atTirmidhi 2682 reference 41 Hadith 38. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge. The scholars is knowledge, so whoever takes from it, then he has indeed taken the most able share. Jami atTirmidhi 2682 reference 41 Hadith 38. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Ibn Ashwa. From Yazid bin Salama al-Jufi, he said, Yazid bin Salama, O Messenger of Allah, I heard so many narrations from you that I am afraid the last of them will cause me to forget the first of them. So narrate a statement to me that will encompass them. So he said, have taqwa of Allah with what you learn. Jami atTirmidhi 2683 reference 41 Hadith 39. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah said, two things will not be together in a hypocrite: good manners, and fiqh in the religion. Jami atTirmidhi 2684 reference 41 Hadith 40. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Umama al-Bahili. Two men were mentioned before the Messenger of Allah. One of them a worshipper, and the other a scholar. So the Messenger of Allah said, the superiority of the scholar over the worshipper is like my superiority over the least of you. Then the Messenger of Allah said, indeed Allah, His angels, the inhabitants of the heavens and the earths, even the ant in his hole, even the fish, say salat upon the one who teaches the people to do good. Jami atTirmidhi 2685 reference 41 Hadith 41. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. That the Messenger of Allah said, the believer will never be satisfied with the good he hears, until he ends up in paradise. Jami atTirmidhi 2686 reference 41 Hadith 42. Jami atTirmidhi. Chapters on Knowledge narrated Abu Hurairah. That the Messenger of Allah said, the wise statement is the lost property of the believer, so wherever he finds it, then he is more worthy of it. Jami atTirmidhi 2687 reference 41 Hadith 43.